Well, let me get everyone in here. Do, 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 do. Oh, I want to get Jason in here too. Oh, I keep seeing this thing. Oh, that's what I got to do. Okay, cool. Sorry. First time doing this. So, everybody, welcome to a special stream. I don't really do this too often, but it's great to have a guy who's been a Niner fan as long, if not longer than me, probably a more knowledgeable fan than myself. Someone whose work I've actually seen for the longest time. Believe it or not, he's been on 49ers Web Zone, a member there for 17 years, beaten me by 2 years. So I've been there since 2007. Jason here has been there since 2005. And he does 49erscap.com. If you need any information on the cap or anything like that, 49ers Cap is the place to go. He knows more about it than I ever will dream to. So I just want to bring in Jason right here. He can introduce himself. We have a couple of topics we'll talk about. And then, yeah, we'll just kind of go from there, keep it free flowing. So, Jason, if you want to go ahead and do your thing.
Hey, all right. Sorry about that. I had my mic muted for some reason. Nah, name's Jason Hurley. Run 49erscap.com. Just been doing this since high school, actually. I think I've said this before, but it started out as a hobby and it's turned into a passion. So, yeah. But,
That's awesome,
yeah,
man.
49ers Cap, both twitter.com/49erscap or just go to 49erscap.com. So, yeah.
Sweet. I love it, dude. I love it. Yeah. Really, it's one of my go-to places for whenever it's coming to like free agency and whatnot. And
Yeah, yeah,
probably my favorite thing that you do, and I've seen you posted on the web zone, but more so like on the website, was that you'd be like, hey, you'd put out ways that we could re-sign our players. That was
yeah,
whenever I do like
yeah.
a mock off season, I'd always be like,
Right.
well, Jason worked it out where we can bring back DJ Jones and this and that and the
Yeah.
other thing. So, yeah, it's super impressive your knowledge on that,
Thank you.
and that's really awesome. So, a couple of things that we want to get into. The first thing is takeaways from preseason one. Just before we hop into that, I'm going to show a little comment here from David. So, David, he's a guy who definitely is a huge Niner fan, stops by a lot of the streams. So, what's up, David? Always good to see you. And then, yeah, let's hop into. So, what were your biggest takeaways, I guess, from preseason game one, as much as there can be takeaways from a preseason game?
Yeah. I thought Trey looked good. I think at first he didn't look as like comfortable or like confident maybe, but as the series went on, the first series, he got into it and he looked much better. And by the time the second series came around, I mean it was only 2 plays I think, and that big 76-yard touchdown of Danny Gray was just that's what we want to see. That's what Garoppolo couldn't do. That's what we want. We want an offense that's just chucking the ball, but also the run game is amazing. So it's not going to change the offense completely, but it's going to add a new dimension.
Uh,
Um,
and then
yeah,
defensively, what about defensively? What were some of the things you liked that our defense did?
it's tough to say because we didn't really have many of our starters out there. Only Kinlaw, I think, was out there. But I was very impressed with Flanagan Fowles. Very hard hitting linebacker. Um, I thought that Womack, that kid is going to be a steal in the fifth round. That's the money round. That really is the money round. Like that, I don't know who posted it when he got drafted, but in the money round, that is the money round, the fifth round. So I was very impressed. So impressed that I can't believe they just released Denard like that. Just so they know
Yeah,
Womack's real, for real. And
and I think that some of that maybe with obviously Womack was a great against the Packers, but something that I've read and I'd like your thoughts on it that because I know we also
yeah,
released Robert Kimdiche, is that
yeah,
we kind of maybe did them a favor by releasing them a little bit early, so
yeah,
before all the
yeah,
other roster cuts,
yeah.
you know.
I think we did them a favor to give them a chance to latch on somewhere else to try to make another 53-man roster. And
Mhm.
also, they could have told them, hey, you don't make it anywhere else, then, you come back. We'd love to have you on the practice squad. You know, you get a chance
Yeah,
to play on Sundays if, because I could see easily them both being on the practice squad because you now can have 6 veterans on there. So you bring you bring either Denard and or Kindichi on there. I mean, it just gives you extra veteran presence. So yeah,
big
I can
big time.
I see they gave him a chance or gave both Denard and Kimjichi a chance with the Niners, and then they said, hey, I don't know personally, but it's like, hey, well, you know, let's give you guys a chance to latch on elsewhere. If you can't, you might come back. So it's a class act by John Lynch and the organization. Instead of releasing them on that final Tuesday and this mad scramble to get the roster set. So, yeah.
Which is ironically what they'll probably do with Garoppolo. So, um,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
but
Yep.
before we'll have a little bit of like a Jimmy G segment later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with the Green Bay game, you're totally right. I think Lance initially, looked. I think maybe
Kind
it
of
was just like
awkward.
excitement. Hmm.
Yeah. Kind of
Yeah,
awkward.
I could tell that that third down pass to Danny Gray on the sideline, it was, overthrew it a little bit, kind of reminded me of that his first start against Arizona, that first drive where he overthrew, I think it was Travis Benjamin, it got picked off. Maybe just like
Right.
excitement slash
Yeah.
nerves,
Yeah.
maybe. But to me, and this is very limited time, of course, because we haven't seen Trey play that much, but almost seems like a guy where it might take him a drive or two to really get into the game. I think
Yeah.
I
To
wouldn't
heat up.
be surprised if like
Yeah.
especially at like the first drive, when they drop the 10-15 plays or whatnot before the game,
Yeah.
if there's a
Yeah.
lot of like play action bootleg, dump it off to Kittle or use check or whoever just to get
Yep.
him, to get him going.
Get his confidence up. That's a big
Mhm.
thing to get his confidence definitely up there. Yeah.
100%. And
I agree.
the defense, I thought, as you mentioned, like there weren't really many starters out there. Kinlaw was there. Hufanga was there, I think, for just the first
Yeah.
drive, and
Yeah. Yeah.
who we,
Ufanga had a big hit. A big
oh,
hit.
yes, he did.
And I didn't think that was a penalty, but then they didn't. They didn't call him on the penalty. Instead, they called it on, I think, Flanagan fouls. And they're like, I'm watching the game, and they're like, "Where's the penalty?" So
Yeah.
they had to like call something without calling something. I guess.
Yeah,
Stupid.
it was when I first saw the flag show up on like the TV screen, I was like, what? It seemed like a legal hit, and then it was.
Yeah,
They
it
called it on
wasn't
something
a.
else.
Yeah, it wasn't a defenseless hit. It wasn't a defenseless receiver. He was a running back at that time. I mean, once he got the ball and he's running with it, that's it. You're not
Yeah,
defenseless.
exactly. With
And
but overall,
and
I
it
thought the defense looked good.
yeah, and it was with the elbow, not like it was helmet to helmet, which was good.
Hmm. Yep.
I like a
Completely
hard
legal
hitting
hit.
defense. Yeah, completely legal.
Well, and that's like the thing that really is gonna, I think a presence like Hufanga, I think that's gonna be really good for the defense. But yeah,
Yep.
it's really hard to kind of gauge the defense because I would say, 9 or 10 of the starters arguably were not even out there. So, but
Yeah,
someone who also did impress me, of course, Womack, like you mentioned, that like his
yeah,
interceptions, both of them were crazy. Especially
yeah,
like the first one, you might consider. I don't know about lucky. I mean, great play on the ball, but the second
yeah,
one was awesome. Yeah, the second one was
yeah,
really good.
yeah. I was very impressed with Womack, and I think we got a like I said, a steal that money round.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm excited.
kind of moving forward, just get rid of all of our third, fourth, sixth, seventh
Yeah.
round, just fifth round. We'll just get every pick in the
Yep.
fifth round and
Yep.
go the
Just
just do our
draft
thing there. But
fifth
overall,
round.
I thought
Yep.
there was like a lot of positives to take away from the game. Someone who I actually really liked in the game too was I thought Oren Burks, linebacker, was really active. He
Yeah.
did have a
Yeah.
couple of penalties, which is not
Yeah.
ideal, but I thought he was
Right.
pretty active. Kind of like really flying around out there. So
Yeah. He
if
was
should
all
guys get
over the field. Yeah.
mhm.
He was all over the field. Hopefully, none of the guys get hurt, but our luck, one or two of them are going to get hurt. So they'll probably play some, but
Yeah.
hopefully he won't have to. But he played well. I thought he
Mhm.
and Odom and McLeod all played well. The fumble with McLeod. I mean that could happen to anyone getting hit like that. So I'm gonna give him a mulligan, and if it happens on like a regular play where he's running with the ball and he gets stripped or whatever it is, then okay, it may be a problem. But I thought he played well. McLeod had a nice that touchdown was beautiful. He
Oh yeah, that route.
I saw the not the video, but like whatever that is where he just he made the cornerback like he made that
Broke his
cornerback's
ankles.
ankle broke. Yeah, so I was trying to think of. Yep, that was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it was the route was awesome. And then, clearly Green Bay were not expecting that, route
No,
combination or what have
no,
you. And, credit to Sudfeld, obviously made the pass. I mean, Ray McLeod was wide open, but
yeah,
it was actually really funny because watching it on the local channel here, one of the interviewers for like I think I was on ABC. He was interviewing Fred Warner, and then they actually just cut to like the play, and it's like this crazy touchdown pass, and
yeah,
then they're like,
yeah,
"Oh, there's a
yeah,
touchdown pass! What the?"
yeah.
I
Because
thought that was good.
I was watching the NFL. I had an NFL Network on because they had that game on there. I was so glad that they actually went to the game at 8:30. Well,
Hmm.
kinda. They went back a bit to the Lions game, but I was very
Yeah.
happy but to see Warner's look, and he's like, "Oh yeah, all right." And then also when he talked about that McCrary ball, that interception was a nice one too by Marcelino.
Yeah.
McCrary ball. He could steal a spot from Flanagan Fowles. I think I was replying to
Hmm.
someone, I forget who, it might have been a 60s fan on there, that I can see a trade. I don't think both are going to clear waivers.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was and that's something that the Niners have done in previous years. I'm trying to think
Jonas
of the
Griffith.
linebacker.
Yep, Griffith. Griffith
Yeah,
was
we
the
traded
guy.
to Denver.
And now he
Um,
got injured, which you feel bad. But yeah, we traded a
yeah.
pick and him for two picks. So I can see that happening again.
Oh,
Which,
and that's
yeah,
one of the things that's always. I mean, you can tell that like the team is doing a good job when they know, hey, like these guys, they're not going to clear waivers. Like they're going to be
right.
on some other team, or we could try and trade and get something for them. So
Exactly.
just before we move on to the next topic, let's go through a couple of comments here. SF Niners Sports Nation, what is up? I was actually checking out your stream a little bit earlier. Is Quanches Wright still on the roster? I believe he is.
Yes, he is. Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
He was undrafted UCLA, I
Yep.
think, maybe.
UCLA. I didn't see much of him out there. I don't think I didn't
Mhm.
really see him out there. I was looking. I think he played on special teams on
Yeah.
the game.
And that's where he's going to have to, I mean, if he wants to make the roster, that's where he's
Yeah,
going to have to,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that's
He's
where he's
gonna
going to
have
have to
to.
make it.
He's gonna have to beat out like an Andrew Thomas or a Diamador Lenore, who
Mhm.
they're not the worst, they're not the best, but I think they both make it. So I think Knight
Agreed.
is ready for that practice squad. A year on the practice
100%.
squad.
Even I feel like even our practice squad is going to be like the competition there is going to
Loaded.
be yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Competition there to
wild,
get on it. Yeah.
The let's give David another shout out here. So preseason is a good look at the depth of our team. Absolutely, that's
Yep.
kind of the obviously with preseason you want to get your starters just kind of like into the groove of playing a different team besides yourself in training camp. But also,
Yeah.
looking at the depth of the team and just really getting a good look at some of these guys. I think something
Yeah.
that really stood out to me in recent interviews is something that Kyle Shanahan said was he was saying that like you want to see guys how they perform when the lights are on, and
Yep.
of course, preseason is not as big a deal as regular season games, but
Exactly.
sometimes when the
But
lights come on, he
still.
says some guys they really rise to the occasion, other guys they
Yep.
tend to kind of shrink. So
Yep.
always good to see that. And
Yep.
then David also says, "Yep, Kim Diche been released.
Yep.
Yeah, we
Yep.
definitely think we did him a favor right there. Maybe he can latch
Yep.
on somewhere else, or as you mentioned, we can bring him back." And then predictions for week 4 with 5 starters on the physically unable to perform list. All right. Predictions for week 4 with 5 starters. For week 4?
Week
I don't
4.
think that the players on the physically unable to perform list have to stay out for any games at this point. I think that's later, if I'm not mistaken.
That's if they're on. The only player right now on the PUP list is Barrett, and I think he'll
Mhm.
probably end up starting on PUP, but he only has to miss 4 games, and then he can come back. It's no
Mhm.
longer the 6 games like it used to be.
Gotcha. Cool. Actually, I thought it was still 6 games, so
Yeah,
learned something new right there.
they changed it thankfully this year. They
Yeah,
finally
because 6
changed it.
games is like now it's
Ridiculous.
basically a third of the season. So,
Yeah.
you know, moving on to so this week, I think we're practicing with the Vikings, and then we have the
Yep.
game against Minnesota.
Yep.
Anything like in particular that you're maybe looking at and kind of going to be focusing on as you see videos of practices, and then of course when the game is on Saturday?
Yeah, I want to see more of the rookies. Really, more of the rookies. Not so much in practices, but I really want to see them out there on the field against the Vikings. I don't know if really. I don't know if Trey's going to play. I doubt he will. So I want to see the rookies. I want to see more of Womack. I want to see more Davis Price. I want to see the interior line with Banks, Brendo, and Buford. Uh, that's what I want to see. I want to see that. On defense, I want to see, like I said, Womack. I want to see the young guys, Ambry, Lenore. I want to see what they can do. Maybe they get to play the first team Vikings, offense. Maybe Cousins plays. I know he didn't play because he had COVID. So hopefully, if he plays, we can see how they do against it. I want to see more Hufanga. I want to see more hard hitting from Hufanga. I love that kid.
Oh
He's
yeah.
going to be a stud.
I
Yep.
think, yeah, just and I don't know if you saw, I think it posted today on the 49ers like official YouTube page, but Hufanga was mic'd up for the game against Green Bay.
Yeah,
And
I
even just
haven't
like
seen that. Yeah,
it's a good
I
watch.
have to check it out. I have to
Definitely,
check
man.
it
Like
out.
I was watching it and then I was getting pumped up, and it's just like a video for like a preseason game, but like just like
I
the energy
know,
and everything.
and I was getting pumped up myself, like seeing Debo on the sideline with Ayuk, and I'm like, I just can't wait for week 1 to see Debo and Brandon out there, and just
Hmm.
hope they shred the Bears defense big time.
Oh, I hope so. And I think I definitely don't want to say cocky, but I think I feel, fairly, confident going into the week 1 game. But
Yeah,
kind of looking
yeah,
at this, like the Vikings, like this coming week, and yeah, the practices. I mean, ultimately, number one, you hope nobody gets hurt,
right.
and then that maybe there's some things that we can take away, from practicing against them. But as
Yeah,
you mentioned, yeah, I think it comes down to the game, that we really get to see the ins and outs of what's
yeah,
happening, and
yeah,
kind of as you
because,
said, there's a lot of
yeah,
like things to look at where the rookies, as you mentioned, Drake Jackson, thankfully he didn't
yeah,
have like.
yeah.
Mhm.
Thankfully, Drake didn't have a bad injury. It was just a stinger. And I'm not even sure. Do you really play him this week? Can he play with the stinger?
that yeah,
That's a good
that's I know
question.
that he was back to practice, like I think it was like the
Yeah,
day
yeah,
after
yeah,
or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was back to practice yesterday. I think Monday or Sunday, Saturday or Sunday. He was. They were like right back to practice, and yeah, thankfully he's okay because he looked good too. I forgot to
Hmm.
mention Drake Jackson. He looked
Yeah,
good in
I mean,
a limited amount of time.
his athleticism was like really on display with chasing down Jordan Love, and then that play that I think I've seen it across a number of channels, people talking about when Jordan Love kind of scrambles out and then just stops, and then Drake Jackson was right there
Yeah,
to disrupt
and
the
he's like
pass. That was awesome.
Drake instead of like gonna fall for it, he just stops and like, okay, now what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
To
100%.
Jordan
And I
Love.
think something that really stood out to me, and it was a little bit of a concern kind of heading into the year, was yeah, the interior of the offensive line with Banks. We really didn't know much about him. We haven't
Yeah,
seen him play much. Spencer
yep.
Burford as well, the rookie, who's looked fantastic so far. I think he looked, all things
He looked
considered, I think
really
he looked
good.
really good.
Yep.
hmm
Mm,
And then
agreed.
Jake Brendel, we obviously, Alex Mack retired
Yep.
earlier this offseason, which was I mean, for me, that was a major bummer. I was really
Yeah,
hoping
I
that
was hoping.
Mac
Yeah.
would get one more year, but
Yep.
it is what it is. But I think
Yep.
Brendel, I think overall they looked pretty darn good, and kind of
Yeah.
I thought what was awesome, and one of the guys who I'm a big fan of, he's in the chat right here, CG Ruthless. I saw him break it down, but just like the different blocks, and like what I thought was really impressive with the interior is the communication was clearly there, because there'd be a bunch of
Yeah.
times where Burford would hand off the block to Brendel or what have you, and when
Yeah.
the Packers were bringing stunts and those kind of things. So really impressive. I think for considering how little they've actually played together, I thought it was awesome to
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very encouraging to see all three play well, but especially Banks and Burford. Burford.
hmm
And those
The
two, I think
what
we
I actually
may.
what I'm a little bit
Yeah.
concerned about though is
Yeah.
what I saw was I thought McGlinchey looked okay.
Yeah. But
And then I thought Justin School, I mean, that first,
oh my God, Justin
yeah,
School, McKibbitz, they just no. I
yeah.
hope Jordan
Hopefully we don't see
Mills
them.
can play well enough to make the roster. But yeah, hopefully we don't have to see. And if anything, if we need to kick somebody out to right tackle, hopefully it's Brunskill, because that's where he
Yeah.
looks best.
hmm
That's where he
And that's
looks
one of the
best.
underrated things. I think, I mean, for me, I think more than most, I'm a bigger fan of Brunskill than a lot of people. I just love the versatility when you can have a guy who
Yes,
can almost play every position on the
every
offensive line and
position,
do it.
right, right.
And
He's
we got
done
it
a
for what,
good job.
2.4 million, I think, or something like that. So,
Yeah, 2.433 on the restricted free agent tender. Yep.
So yeah, really, really happy with
Yeah, me
getting
too.
Brunskill back. To me, I thought that was a really big move, especially considering that Alex Mack retired. So just having that guy who's played in the big games, played against the best of the best, and against guys like Aaron Donald and whatnot. So
Yep.
yeah, Brunskill, really, really valuable. But yeah, I think the game against Minnesota, yeah, I believe, kind of like you said, man, I think we're not going to see too many starters. It sounded like
Right.
what Shanahan, his plan was to have the starters play some preseason week 1 and some preseason week 3.
Yep.
And he was saying that, yeah, preseason week 2, which would be this coming game, most of them would rest. So,
Yep.
yeah, but it'll be a great game to watch to see just how deep we actually are. Now,
Yeah.
Before we kind of move on to the next topic beyond that, I'll go through a couple of the comments here. Drake Jackson better than Kellen Mond? Oh yes,
Oh yes.
I think this when we play in practice, I think Kellen Mond will probably have some nightmares of being chased by
Yep.
Drake Jackson. The
And
Pooh
Nick
Bears are
Bosa.
going. I think. Oh, Bosa, of course. I mean,
Yeah.
the entire
Yeah.
defensive line. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Love
it's like,
your. I love Crazy Juice's Avatar. I'm a big Penta. I'm a big
yeah, that is
wrestling
sick.
fan. I love Penta, El Cerro Miedo. I love.
That's awesome. Yeah, Crazy
Uh,
Juice. Another guy who
yep.
definitely is around a lot of the channels on YouTube, and and for anyone who's here, guys, I mean, really appreciate you stopping by. It means a lot. This is my first time like hosting a stream, and kind of like maybe we're on halfway through the stream, but I also again want to say a big thank you to Jason for stopping by as well and dropping his
My
knowledge
pleasure.
on the channel. It's really means a lot to have someone take time out of their day to chat
Yeah.
49er football. But as Crazy Juice said, the Pooh Bears are going down week 1. Yeah, I'm feeling I
Yeah.
don't I'm feeling confident, but
Yeah.
week 1 can be weird. You never know with week 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Week 1 can be
I
weird.
remember that was it the Tom Sula year where we beat Minnesota week 1, and then
Yeah.
Chip Kelly we beat the Rams week 1.
Yeah. And then
Week
everything
1 can be
just
weird.
went.
You never know what
Yeah.
can happen. But hopefully, I feel like when you have a great defense like we should do, then that kind of tends to keep things relatively normal. But
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, CG Ruthless Sports, that's my dude. He's a great guy. Check out his channel. Anyone who's
Yeah.
watching,
I think I'm gonna be on his on Thursday.
yeah, CG's awesome.
Or yes,
He
Thursday.
interviewed Spencer Burford
Next
actually.
next week, I think it is. Next Monday. I'm sorry. Next Monday,
Rad,
I will
yeah.
be on
CG's
his.
great. Really one of those guys who just puts in so much time and so much effort, and really it really pays off, and it's really showing. So great to see him. We got a couple of then shout outs here from some of the other people in chat, David and Crazy Juice saying what's up, so that's always cool. Now kind of moving on to a topic here, and I actually just put out a video earlier today, but the Jimmy Ward injury, how long do you think he'll be out?
Yeah.
And then do you think we potentially bring in a free agent, or do you think we kind of just keep it in house and have them maybe like Odom or Tarvarius Moore or someone just play the game or two that
Yeah.
Ward might miss?
Yeah. Injury wise, honestly, I hope it's only week 1. Yeah. Hopefully, it's only for a 1 week thing, one
Mm-hmm.
regular season game. Hopefully, he can come back. Replacement wise, yeah, I don't think they're gonna go out and sign anybody. They're probably gonna go with Moore or Odom. If Dante Johnson's healthy enough from the rib cartilage issue, then I think he might get it because he's he's a pretty good player. I mean, he gets a bad rap, but he's come on. He's been much better later in his career than he was earlier in his career.
Oh, I could not agree more with that. It's weird because, as you said, Dante gets a pretty bad rap. But what's funny is Josh Norman was so bad for us
Yeah,
that when I was like just screaming just to get Dante Johnson back on the field because I just couldn't
yeah.
watch anymore. Josh
I
Norman, it
couldn't
was
watch Norman.
awful.
Norman was only good for getting
Yeah,
causing fumbles. Everything else, defensive PI, getting burned. Nah. So
just
so so glad we got Treverius Ward.
Yeah, I mean, and we're just stacked in the secondary. So yeah,
Yep.
I think I mean, I agree that I think we'll probably see week 1, assuming that Jimmy Ward isn't out there. Yeah, I think we'll
Yeah.
see George Odom out there, Tarvarius Moore, and then Hufanga will play the strong safety
Yep.
position. A couple of names that I had seen that if we were to bring somebody in, might be bringing back like Tavon Wilson from last year, but I don't think we will simply
Yeah, I
because
don't think so.
yeah, I think those guys will just like eat up a roster spot, and we know that like
Right. We
all
don't want to
53.
lose these guys. Yeah, you don't want to lose a guy that should be on the roster.
Yeah, I think if anything, they'll probably play it out, see what happens. I mean, I feel like a guy like Tavon Wilson, if we were desperate, could always be brought in the week of the game and maybe be okay.
Or at worst, you could probably sign him to the practice squad and elevate him for the game, so we don't lose someone that we want on the 53-man roster. So that's one good rule that they now have, that you can elevate 2 players each week.
So I want to throw this out to you, and this actually wasn't on like the little agenda that I'd sent, but maybe
Okay.
just to get your thoughts on it. So we mentioned a little bit earlier about, hey, perhaps we trade a linebacker like we did last year with Griffith.
Right.
My thing is, what about, to me, the running back room is loaded. Do you
Yeah.
think there's any way that we potentially trade a running back to another team?
I think it's possible. Maybe Hasty. As I know some people are very down on Trey Sermon. I don't think he gets cut. Um, Maybe Hasty. Maybe Jeff Wilson Jr. He's got a pretty hefty 530, $560,000. It's 530 or 560,000 base guarantee. That would really be good if they decided they did not want him to get rid of that. They would save 1.035 million. But I think with all the injuries that we've had in the running back, I think it's wise to just keep who we have, because I can see them keeping 5 backs plus Juice. And I know that sounds crazy, but if it gets to the point where, Mitchell's already banged up, so, and Wilson is too, so I don't know what the real possibility is. Do they do they want a chance losing a back, you know, off the practice squad? Or, I mean, at worst they can release Wilson. He doesn't go through waivers. You have a wink-wink deal where he's going to sign to the practice squad, so that's possible.
Very
I think
true.
it's possible they can make a trade, but I think they probably will not. Just That's just my feeling about it.
That's a good point, and I think last year, if that taught us anything, like the running backs can just go down like in an instant.
Yeah,
So, and we went through a lot of them last year. I think
yeah,
for me, someone who I'm higher on than I think a lot of Niner fans, but I like Jermichael Hasty a lot more than I think most other people do. Not only because I think I mean, he's a decent runner.
yeah,
But
yeah.
he
He
was
is.
definitely our best receiving back last year, in my opinion.
Oh
But also
yeah,
that
yeah,
he has return value too. Like even against the
yeah.
preseason game against Green Bay, he was on kick returns, had a
Yep,
couple of, I think, one or two nice returns.
yep.
I think he gets a bad rap for that Falcons game last season when he fumbled, the first snap, and
Right.
Shanahan was probably livid with that. But I think
Yeah,
he's probably our most versatile back potentially. So
yeah. I
I
would
like
agree.
Hasty more than others.
I do like Hasty. Just I'm not sure if he fits where. It's just the numbers game. If we didn't draft the running back, then I'd say he makes it. But he could probably make it anyway. I mean, they could probably go and decide, hey, we're gonna just keep 4 linebackers and we're gonna keep 5 running backs, just because we know we're gonna have injuries down the line. Or, like I said,
Good point.
release Wilson and put him on the practice squad and just we'll
Yeah,
say
no, I completely agree. It's weird, just how, and I think we kind of know at this point, like even like the official or the initial 53-man
yeah,
roster, it always changes,
yeah, yeah,
all the time. So,
yeah,
but it's always fun to talk about. And I think so. Were you saying that potentially 5 running backs and then use check like as like the sixth
yeah.
guy?
I
Wow.
could see it. If they feel like, hey, Mitchell may not be ready week 1, Wilson too. Maybe they do go 6 total running backs. It'd be crazy, but I mean, if we've learned anything from the Shanahan era, he'll do whatever he thinks is best. And
Absolutely.
I trust
Absolutely.
Shanahan. I trust with Shanahan's vision and Lynch's vision.
I think we
One,
have to, I think we have
call me
to.
a they can call me a homer all they want. I've been vocal about the things that I didn't like. Jarek McKinnon signing was a bad signing. Just number of signings that they've made, given a lot of money to some players like Malcolm Smith. But for the most part, I think they've done well. Yeah, they missed on Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster, but the Foster pick I don't really get mad about because one, it was the 31st pick, I think it was, and second, we got lied to by Nick Saban. Got to learn not to trust the college coaches when they talk about their players.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
think if we have. I don't think we've drafted an Alabama player since then.
No, I don't think so either.
I know we
No.
signed. I think there was an undrafted free agent that we had signed, Jared Maiden, I think. But in
Yep.
general,
Yep. Yeah.
I don't think we've
Safety.
gone near Alabama again. And maybe they're like,
Yeah. No.
hey, fool me
Yeah.
once,
We're not
shame on
gonna.
you. Fool me twice.
No.
But yeah, I think in general, you have to agree that like when you look at the 49ers roster, it's stacked. We look at
Oh
this,
yeah.
the NFL top 100 list. I think we're probably good. There was already Juszczyk, Jimmy Ward. Of course, Trent Williams will be there. Debo will be there. Kittle will be there. Warner will be there. Bosa will be. That's 7 guys in the top 100 that
Yeah. And
you
my
figure will be there.
and I feel like Eric Armstead's gonna get snubbed. I just feel like
Probably,
he's
yeah.
gonna get
I
snubbed,
just don't think he's quite
even
like a
though
household name.
yeah, but he's a good player.
Great
Not a
player. He
household
really
name.
came
Yeah,
on.
great. Yeah, I think he. I said this online on Twitter. He's made me forget about the DeForest Buckner trade. He's been that good. I don't care about he not getting the double digit sacks every year. It's not all about double digit sacks. Look at what he does, the pressure. I mean, taking up double teams. They pay attention to him. He's a good player.
I think he was one of the guys that really last season. I think maybe it took D'Amico a little bit of time to really find his groove calling the games,
Yeah,
but I think so many guys towards the end of the year like really started thriving once they kind of found the role for them. Like Armstead moving
yeah.
inside, like that game
That
against
was
Green Bay, the playoff game against Green Bay, he was just
yep,
wrecking them. Another
yep,
guy who I would kind of put in that same vein was Samson Ebukam. Like
yep,
down the end of the season, he was just everywhere. Even
yep,
when you look at that playoff game against the Cowboys and the Packers, even though he maybe only had one sack or maybe not even a sack, but every time, let's say Bosa got a sack or Armstead got a sack,
yep,
Ebukam was right there too, just a split
yep,
second behind. So,
yep,
yet the roster's loaded. We're really
yeah,
fortunate to have, just a really great team, and like expectations are high, especially
yep.
Trey Lance looking really good. But let's move on to an interesting topic. But before we do, yes, David, of course, the Niners are way better than the Bears. That was really the
Oh
game
yes,
last year that it kind of turned our season around, I thought.
yep,
And then CG is saying, "What's up to David?" So, got to talk about it. One of those things. Jimmy
yep,
Garoppolo. So,
yep.
when you think
Jimmy
about
G.
Jimmy, um, I think for a second, John Lynch was probably pretty happy when he heard that Zach Wilson was potentially going to be out for the year with the Jets,
Yeah,
and then that only turned out to be a shorter injury. Um,
yep,
do you see? I think we're kind of all waiting on what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. Um,
yeah.
in the meantime, if you had to guess, what do you think happens with Jimmy G? Are we going to cut him? Do we trade him? Any other trade partners you might think of?
Outside of the Browns, I think he gets cut. I
Because the
think they
Browns have the
hold
cap
on.
space.
yeah, they have $48 million in cap space. They can take on his contract. And I know one Twitter account, whether or not it's real or not, has said about the Browns want us to eat some money. And I look at it different than the Baker Mayfield situation. Baker was guaranteed $18 million. Jimmy's not guaranteed a cent unless he's on the week 1 roster. We have no reason to eat any salary of Jimmy's unless they're going to give us a high draft pick. And I'm not even sure what draft picks they can give us because they gave up, like 3 or 4 first-round picks or second-round picks too as well to get Sean Watson. So,
yeah,
if Watson's suspended the entire year, which I think he should be, that's the only place I see. Because I don't think they're going to trade him to the Seahawks.
No, they wouldn't trade him to this. I just think that from a PR standpoint, that might be not the best. But so, because this is an interesting one, and this is where I think your knowledge of the cap will definitely help because I'm a little bit iffy on this. So, if we cut Garoppolo, let's say we just cut him. Let's say it's the last day of cuts or whatever. We cut him.
Yep.
If he goes to sign with Seattle, odds are, he might get a deal. Let's say 1 year, 10 million. Let's just throw out an even number like that. Right. So if we were to hypothetically trade, kind of with that in mind, because I don't think there's any way, shape, or form that Garoppolo is going to make that 26, 27 million unless he goes to the Browns because they have the cap space for it. But that aside, let's just say, I mean, if we were to trade him to another team, let's say the New York Giants come calling for whatever reason, or another team.
It's possible. Yeah.
If we traded them, I think and this is where it's different from Baker, if I'm not mistaken, where they could then rework the deal.
Yeah.
Could they not?
Yeah, they could rework the deal. I mean, the team trading for him, I mean, they can rework it. All they got to do is just talk with his agent.
Jimmy to sign on the dotted line.
Sign a revised contract. It's not that.
Because that was the thing.
It wouldn't be that difficult. Yeah.
I think that was the difference with Baker was that because he's still on the rookie deal that he couldn't rework anything no matter what he was getting that, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, with Baker, it was because the money was guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did rework it because you can rework a contract rookie deal after year 3. Year 3 of the contract, you can rework a contract, but it was just nobody was going to take Baker's salary on being fully guaranteed, and Panthers weren't going to take all of it when they had to pay the same amount to Darnold. So,
yeah, very true. I mean, that's that Carolina quarterback room is. I don't know. That's a weird one. I don't know. I really don't know what their goal
they have
is.
That rookie. Yeah, I don't know.
I like Corral. I think they drafted, was it Corral?
Corral, Sam Corral.
I liked him a lot. Coming out of Ole Miss, I think in the 3rd or 4th round they got him, which I think is pretty good value. But yeah, I don't know where the Panthers are. They feel like a team that's destined to be like 7-10 or 8-9 or something like that. They're not really. They're not going to compete, but they're not the worst team either. They have some good players on their roster for sure.
Yep.
Let me give out a little comment here for Juke. Good evening, everyone. Can you all smell football season yet? It's so close.
Yes.
And one of my favorite things to do is I love to stream the games, and I'll do like the live reactions play-by-play. Juke's definitely someone who comes by for that. And so, yeah, it's so close yet so far. But I really can't wait.
So far. It's like 26 days, they said, away from the opener or something like that. It's like so close, but yet so far away. I can't wait.
It's definitely one of the more anticipated years for sure, just
Yep.
because we get to see Trey Lance full time. He's the guy,
Yep.
as well as getting to watch Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Trent Williams, and of course, maybe a top 5 defense. So,
Yep.
and hopefully an improved special teams. That's a big one
Yes.
too. That kind of
Hopefully.
gets forgotten about.
Hopefully. Yep.
Now, just before we go to the last segment of the show, what are your thoughts in terms of like the value on the Debo Samuel contract?
Very happy with it. I think he got a great deal. I think the 49ers got a great deal. I think it was just once the DK Metcalf trade, I'm sorry, not the trade, the DK contract happened, I was like, okay, now this is gonna happen, and I think like 48 hours later, there it is. Debo got his deal, and I'm like, it was like it may have been 48 or 72 hours, whatever it was. It was like the longest that I felt that it had ever been because I was like, come on, I'm refreshing Twitter, like, come on. And then finally that Sunday night I refresh and here it is, Debo, and I'm like, this better not be a joke. We better not be
Yeah.
fake. Because you know how
Right.
they are during football. You got the fake Adam Schefters, the fake
Uh,
rap reports. I hate it so much.
yeah.
God, get a job. Get a better thing to
Or
do.
seriously.
But yeah,
Don't
come
play with
on.
my emotions like that.
No, no. But I'm very happy with Debo getting that 3-year deal. I
Me
had
too.
hoped it was longer, but I think it makes sense that it's 3 years. Let's see how his production holds up, how he holds up for being also a running back. But I'm
I
confident.
think my thoughts on it too were I think it's a good deal for both sides. Initially, I was thinking yourself, and hey, if we got Debo to sign a 5-year deal, I would not be complaining in the least. But
Nope.
it's one of those things where you see it from Debo's side. So in 3 years' time, he gets to cash in again, and
Yep.
hopefully he's still being as productive as
Hopefully.
possible.
Yep. And hopefully it's
Now
the
with the
49ers.
Niners
Yep.
side of things, number one positive, we have him for we signed him to 3 more years, so that's always good.
Yep.
And then number two is that let's just say, and I'm knocking on wood here that it doesn't happen, but let's just say that maybe his production, because of his physical nature and how physical he plays, let's say if in that 3rd year the production tails off or gets like banged up or whatnot, then maybe we could have avoided something, where we're not stuck
Yeah.
with him.
Right.
But it's
Right.
interesting because the Niners, if anything that we've seen, like the Niners, they like to give their guys 5-year deals. It's
Yep.
Kittle,
Warner,
Warner,
Kittle.
Trent Williams,
Yep.
all those like the younger guys. Bosa is going to get like a
Bosa. Yep.
probably
5-year
yeah, he'll get
deal.
at least a
Yep.
5. Yeah, I think is that the max you can sign for now is a 5-year or no. No, what am I
No.
talking about?
No.
Mahomes signed a 10-year deal or something.
10-year deal.
Um,
Yeah. No.
but yeah, so I think overall it's a good deal for both sides, and he considering what he did, like I think if we did not have Debo Samuel last year, for sure we're not making the playoffs.
No, we're not.
And he's just so valuable to what the team does. Now, speaking of value and what a player is going to bring for you, what do you think are your realistic expectations for Trey Lance for 2022?
For 2022, I think realistically, I think it's going to be up and down at the beginning, but I do think by the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, I think he's going to lead us to the playoffs. I'm not saying the division or the Super Bowl. I think we are a Super Bowl contender, but I think a wild card, we should be a wild card team. So I have high expectations for this team this year, not just because of Trey Lance, but because of everybody who's around him. Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, Juice, Trent, that defense. We should not miss a beat. After seeing what I saw, what we all saw against the Packers, he can throw the ball deep and he's accurate. So I'm very, very, very high on him, and I have I don't want to like say they're like extremely high expectations, but I have high expectations where I think he's going to show the NFL and show everybody that, hey, I'm from North Dakota State and I can play in the NFL. You don't have to go to a Power Five conference and be, be the Heisman Trophy winner or be all American and play in the FCS or the FBS and be this great quarterback in college. I think he's gonna show the world that we made the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think I really like how Trey carries himself, and one of the things
Yeah,
in the game against Green Bay that I was looking for, because I know can only imagine just how complex Shanahan's offense is just to call, and
yeah,
there's a lot of
yeah,
pre-snap motion and stuff. So I thought it was really good. That he was able to get to the line of scrimmage on time, get everyone lined up, even with like 8-10 seconds left on the play clock. So that was something that I was looking for. Of course, the poise in the pocket on the big touchdown pass to Denny Gray, but also that
yep,
play where he ended up like scrambling for almost a first down.
right, yep,
He kind of felt the pressure behind him, stood up, even like
yep.
looked for a split second to try and throw it again, and then took off,
Yep.
slid. So I think there's
Thankfully, he
obvious
slid. Yep.
growth right there. But
Yep.
as you said, there's definitely going to be some bumps in the road. I mean, if every
Yep.
quarterback goes through
Yep.
it, like if people
Yep.
maybe forget that the first week one of last season, Aaron Rodgers against the Saints, I think he had like 2 or 3 interceptions.
Oh,
He was
he
garbage. Like in the
he
game week one,
was. Yep.
yeah, like the Saints just destroyed the
Yep.
Packers, and then the
Yep.
Packers go on and they're like the number one seed in the NFC.
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
um, every quarterback will
Temp.
have some rough
Yep.
games,
Yeah.
especially a
So
young one.
yeah. So people need to temper their expectations and just realize that don't base it off one game. Obviously, we're all excited,
Hmm.
but if for some reason he goes out and he throws a couple interceptions, we still win, and people are down on Trey. Week one is the weirdest week of any of the NFL weeks.
There really
So
is. There really is, and I
he's
think
gonna have
even
his ups and downs. But yeah,
I think even throughout the
yeah.
season, there's going to be. I think there will be maybe 2 or 3 games where he just doesn't look good. It's going to happen. Again,
Right,
every
right.
quarterback kind of has those games, but then I think there'll be
Yeah.
some games where he looks just phenomenal. And then there'll be a lot of games where he looks pretty good. Maybe it's like 250 to 300, passing yards, couple of touchdowns, maybe a
Yep.
pick. Um,
Yeah.
but I think my expectations, what I really like is the fact that compared to a lot of these other young quarterbacks, maybe with the exception of Mac Jones, he's in a pretty good situation in New England, but
Yep.
Trey is just surrounded by a great team. Like we talked about it,
Yep.
all the weapons on offense, the running game that Kyle Shanahan can draw up with all those
Yep.
running backs,
Mhm.
the defense, like a top
Yep.
five, what should be a top five defense in terms of talent.
Oh
And of
yeah.
course, I think
Yeah.
we're all big fans of D'Amico Ryan's calling. So he's in a
Yep.
great situation where he doesn't have to be throwing for 400 yards a game. Whereas
Right.
when you look at Zach Wilson, when you look at Trevor Lawrence, the teams around them, I think they've gotten better, sure, but they
Yeah.
don't have top five defenses. They don't have the
Nope.
weapons that we do. So,
Nope.
I think it's just a great situation for Trey to be in. And overall, like all of our weapons, like they've been in the system for years. Even Trey, he's in his second year now. And
Yep.
I can't think of a better way to set up a young quarterback than what the 49ers did. It's
Oh
the
yeah.
one thing, maybe a little bit more of a higher investment in the offensive line in the draft, but
Yeah.
seems like we maybe hit it out of the park with Spencer Burford. Aaron Banks
Yeah.
looks good so far, and we
Yep.
invested in a second
Yep.
round pick last year. So
Yep.
kind of,
Yes,
it
I
sounds like
agree.
we're pretty much on the same page. I think
Yeah,
at the end of the
definitely.
day, with Garoppolo last year, I mean he was okay. He had his ups and downs.
Yeah.
I think to me, my expectations are for Trey to be as good as, if not like a little bit better. But then he
Yep.
also brings the fact that, I mean, we saw it in the preseason game. Like he
That
can
he can
stretch the
throw the
field,
ball deep. Yep.
he can
Stretch
run
the
with the
field.
ball
Throw
too,
it
and
deep.
then
Run with the ball. Yep.
there's so many crazy. I'm one of the things I'm most looking forward to is just some of like the crazy plays that Shanahan will be able to draw up where
Yeah,
fake
yeah,
Debo comes in motion, fake hands it off.
yep,
It's a, all these crazy things. Maybe Trey, you just never know. So
yeah. I
yeah,
can't wait.
it's gonna be an exciting year for sure.
Yep.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, smash the like button. I appreciate that. So David asks, when's the Jimmy G saga going to be over? What is the last day? Is it August
I
31st?
August 30th is final cut down, and that will be the day that it's all over, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unless
And then he probably
the
gets
regular,
picked up
yeah, he'll get a job somewhere, but
Seattle.
I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we're playing him week 2. It wouldn't surprise me.
Seattle loves our former players.
Yep, DJ Reed, one of them.
I wouldn't be surprised either,
Yep.
but nothing would be
Yeah.
more sweet than beating Pete Carroll and seeing Jimmy G on the sidelines not happy over there too. God, I
Yep.
just don't like Pete Carroll at all. I just hate the
I hate
Seahawks.
him. I've hated him since USC. I'm a Notre Dame
Yeah.
fan. USC, I hated him. I just hated Pete Carroll.
And he was a former Niner coach back in the 90s, I think, too. But I still can't stand the guy,
I can't stand him.
It's like all that's forgotten about. But
Yep.
yeah, man, I thought it was like it was really, really fun. We'll probably kind of finish up in a moment here. Like to try and keep it to about an hour or so.
Yeah.
But man, super fun, having you on, and super fun doing this.
Oh, yeah. Anytime.
Always good talking 49er football.
Yeah, anytime you want me on, you just let me know.
I love it, man. Yeah, I'll
I
be
had a
checking out the website as well, of course. And for everyone who's still watching here, 49erscap.com. Any, questions or queries or anything that you have with regards to the cap and the 49ers, you need to look at that website. That's the place to go to if you need any information on that. Also, Jason, if you want to throw out, your Twitter and
Yep.
anything else that you might like to say about yourself, bud?
Just follow me on Twitter, 49ers Cap.
Awesome. And I really appreciate everyone stopping by and, being here for the comments and checking out the stream and whatnot. I'm not sure if I've lost Jason there, but yeah, really appreciate Jason, taking the time out of his day. I know we all have a whole bunch of stuff going on, so I really, really appreciate it. And let me see what David just said here. Sleepy Pete Carroll go away soon. Yes, I just am so stoked to, beat Pete Carroll. It's been a while since we've consistently been able to beat the Seahawks, and it sucks. But yeah, I think we're in for a really good season, 49er fans. I did put out a video today talking about Jimmy Ward, his injury, and possible replacements. Beyond that, obviously like and subscribe to the channel, check out the content, and then I won't be streaming any of the preseason games. But once the regular season starts, check out this channel because I get a little wild when it comes to no, I'm not actually I'm not half Asian, unfortunately. I'm fully Irish, actually, believe it or not. But yeah, I'll be streaming all the games when they're live too, so that's always a good time. But all righty, guys, I am going to leave it there. Thank you again for stopping by. Appreciate you checking everything out. And yeah, adios. The butt counts, and I'm going to catch y'all on the flip side.